As people have probably noticed by now, Marvel Studios is making some pretty significant changes to the Mandarin and also the way that the Ten Rings work. So let's get to that. So for those that aren't aware, in Marvel Comics, when it comes to the Mandarin's rings, they're actually real rings, not as it's shown currently in the MCU, these sort of weird wrist gauntlets, but also when it comes to the rings and how they have their power, they're actually a bunch of cosmic warriors who were actually jailed. Like, they're prisoners within these rings. The Mandarin finds a spaceship that was crashed. He finds these rings, he decides to wear them, and then he harnesses the power that is provided by the rings because of what is inside of them. Now, if you watch that trailer, we can clearly see that all the rings are powering on at once and being used in conjunction with one another, seeming like maybe they do have some sort of individual ability, but the going theory right now is that you have to have all 10 of them together to be able to use the actual, well, power of the 10 rings. And the working theory here is, since we see the flashback giant battles that quite clearly happened in the past, is that those previous rumors we heard about Genghis Khan is that these will reveal that the rings were originally discovered all the way back then, and they've been utilized throughout history, and different people have used the name Mandarin to pay tribute to the guy that was giving them power and putting them into these positions of power, aka somebody like Aldrich Killian was given the name Mandarin so he could carry on his work and have the real Mandarin hide in the shadows, sort of, out of sight, out of mind, don't think about me throughout history. And if you pay attention in the trailer, it looks like the character of Wenu, who, again, the Mandarin, because he's not just going to be walking around 2025 called Mandarin, because that doesn't fit, is also looking like he's not the only one who actually wields these rings, because if you look at the trailers, you definitely get the sense that somebody else, maybe even multiple people, can control all of them. So that is some pretty significant changes that are being made, all things considered, but again, we have to see how they play out and how they're going to establish the history of the Mandarin and how exactly it ties to everything and what they do with him and how these rings come into play, and do these rings relate to the comic book counterparts at all? Or are they somehow connected to something else? I mean, like I speculated before, kind of on a whim, could the 10 rings represent different elements of the Eternals because there's 10 of them? Would be possible, so who really knows? I guess we'll know come September.